Hey, you guys. Welcome back to Wrestling with Idiots podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, D, and I'm here with Cito and Jay Grizz, ready to give you the show of shows. Let's get this shit in the ring and wrestle. Kicking off tonight's episode, let's discuss Seth Rollins' CM Punk promo. Jay Grizz, start us off.
Oh, man. Again, I love Seth Rollins' outfits, man. Those Prince-like outfits that he wears to the ring, they're just spectacular. They're glamorous. They're beautiful. Listen, you got two really good promos in that ring with CM Punk and Seth Rollins. Those guys could literally be in the ring by themselves and make a broom look good during their promos. I'm just curious, though, because we have Drew and CM Punk going at it, but now I think after CM Punk interfered in the Money in the Bank last week, we now remember, or at least I remember, that his original situation was with Seth Rollins when he first came back last year at Survivor Series. I have no idea where this one is going to go. I don't know if this one is going to go into SummerSlam or what's going to happen. But the promo was great. CM Punk is just a master. He is a master at this. Seth Rollins also another master. You know what happens when you have two masters? Do you? Do you have any idea when you have two masters? Not quite sure. I have no clue. Yeah, neither do I. But you do have two masters of promos in the ring right there. And the promos are great. I felt it. It's what, everyone knows what a wrestling promo sounds like versus a promo where it just sounds like it's just coming straight from the heart. And I feel like when Seth was doing his promo, man, I feel like it was coming from the heart. But also, when Punk mentioned the bracelet with AJ and his dog on it, I felt like, it was real. You want to make sure that your promos sound like they're 100% real. And to an extent, you have to always maintain it like that. You always have to keep it that way in order for it to be good. You have to kind of use something personal in a promo to make it sound good. Because once you just wash away the wrestling aspect of it and actually use something personal, it sounds a lot better. And here it did, because CM Punk did mention Seth Rollins' child's name, and you've seen the reaction that Seth Rollins gave when he did that. So I actually like when that happens. Like, get a little personal. You know what I mean? Get a little personal. Nothing wrong with that, because you the audience, or us the audience, we want to look at it and be like, man, this is real. And, is this guy going to cross the line with the next thing that he says? You know what I mean? Or is the promo going to be thrown off because of what he says? We don't know how much of this is real and how much of this is not real. But, you could definitely feel it. You can feel the tension between the two. And whatever develops between these two is going to be great. Cito, what you got on it, man?
Well, I thought it was a good promo, but I was kind of left confused. And again, I was pretty confused after watching Money in the Bank, because you start seeing that now this whole thing with Punk and Drew is going to have Seth Rollins attached to it, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought the promo was good. I'm actually pretty happy that they're going to still pick this up, because this is where things were going before, Punk ended up getting hurt. And I don't know if it's just me, but I have this weird feeling, right, that they can do something similar to what they did at SummerSlam in '97, where you have Punk versus Drew with the possibility of Seth Rollins being the special guest referee.
97, that was when Brett versus The Undertaker. Undertaker was the champion and Shawn Michaels was the referee. There you go.
Yeah. I don't know. I just have a feeling that this is going there. But
it could be.
Yeah, I mean, it possibly could be. And again, the other thing, too, is like, I don't think anyone expected Rollins to come back this soon. And you kind of don't have anything else for him. And you got SummerSlam, approaching, quite rapidly. So I'm not sure what else he can do besides be in this whole mix with Drew and Punk.
Or do they just go ahead and do the good old fashioned what they've been doing forever and go and just make it a triple threat match?
I wouldn't be shocked if they make it a triple threat match. But, truth be told, I think it would make a lot of sense to have Rollins as the ref because of the way they're going with this story with Punk and with Drew. I feel like they're going to, shortly, like very soon they're going to start saying like, oh, well, we can't have a regular referee call it down for these guys because of how much hate they have for each other. We need a special type of referee, someone that can keep them both in line, and I think that's where they're going to go with this.
Hey, for the listening audience, please do us a favor, too. When you're wrestling with idiots on YouTube, slide into those comments. We want to hear what you guys think. Do you think, and, eventually we'll start putting up polls so, we can all interact with one another and see what you guys think. Do you think this is going to be a triple threat match? Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk? Or do you think Citoo has a point? Do you think they're going to go with Seth Rollins being the special guest referee between the two, between Drew and CM Punk? It's a very interesting take on it, and I would like to see where it goes from there. But I got to say this. This is very interesting. This is one of the better feuds that's happening right now. It might be the best one. I know it's my favorite one right now, but you have so many. You got Cody and the Bloodline. You got Liv and the Judgment Day. So you have some really good stuff right now that's on the WWE programming that's really worth watching. Not watching. Jesus. So it's just like you do have something to look forward to. And, Drew, CM Punk, I'm looking for that. And then now Seth Rollins is in the mix with CM Punk. I'm definitely looking at that too. It looks good. We're going to just see, man, because I like where this is going. They just got to, keep it going and see what happens from there.
Yeah, I mean, look, on Raw, right, on the Red brand, they have a lot of interesting things going on, right? And, you already touched on Drew, Punk, and now whatever's going to go on with Rollins. We have a big World Heavyweight Championship match going on at SummerSlam. We also have the return of, Liv and Rhea and how everything's going to tie in. But there is something else going on Raw, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know what you're thinking about this whole Wyatt Six and Gable. Because they just won't leave that poor guy alone.
Man, you know what? Gable's another one that's interesting. He is just on another level, man. He is golden. He is that guy right now. I don't think anyone can sit up here and say Gable, isn't doing business right now. He is doing business. His character development, his wrestling ability was always there. But just everything about him is just like, it screams greatness. You know what I mean? Like, he is amazing. He's amazing in the ring. He's amazing promos. Everything about him is amazing. I have no idea where they're going with this. I have to be honest with you. But the more and more I see Gable, I'm not mad at it. The more and more I see the Wyatt Six, I'm not mad at it. So just like, this is one of those things where it's to me, it's classified as interesting. Very, very interesting. It is one of those things that you look out for. So just like when I see Gable or I see anything with the Wyatt Six, I have to wonder what's going to happen next. And I'm looking forward to it. So just like every Monday night, I have to, I have to see it. I have to see it. I have to know what's going on. Even if I miss a Monday Night Raw, I just have to if I'm looking at highlights or, results or anything like that, those are one of the things I'm looking for. I'm looking for Gable and I'm looking for Wyatt Six. Because I'm definitely interested if there's going to be more targets than Gable in this thing. Seems like Gable's the only person right now, but who else are we looking at? We don't really know. So first is Gable, and then, who knows?
Yeah, I'm very interested in seeing why they're targeting Gable. And I would imagine that there's got to be more targets. Like, it really just can't be only Gable, right?
It could be.
Again,
because we don't know about. Well, we know Gable and the Alpha Academy is pretty much done, but there was a promo a few weeks ago, or a backstage segment where we see Gable run into the Creed brothers, and they were asking him how he was doing that, and if he was okay and all that other stuff. So we may see a development with that, because we've all expected for that to be a thing, Gable and the Creed brothers, because of the wrestling background. So that could be the thing to look out for as well. Because I don't think Gable's just going to be solo for too much longer, to be honest with you.
Well, I don't think he's going to be, being alone for that much longer either. I have seen him with the Creed brothers a couple of times on Raw. So I know there's something going on there. But with SummerSlam approaching, is there a possibility that we have, Chad Gable in a one-on-one match against somebody from the Y6?
It's very well possible. Anything is possible. Yeah, I don't know. It's possible. And if so, which one are we going to see? Could we see a tag match? Could we see, it's another one of those things where it's just like, it's developing into something very interesting. You know what I mean? So we have no clue. I don't know who would be more interesting, in a match with Gable right now. Or do we even want to see a match, even at SummerSlam? Or do we want to see a segment? I'm not quite sure. You know what I mean? It's just, see, that's the thing about interesting gimmicks. Sometimes you don't even care to see a match so soon. You know what I mean? Sometimes you could just wait because the promos and the segments are just so damn good. It's just like, I could wait for the match. I could wait a little bit longer for the match to actually happen. You know what I mean? So it wouldn't bother me to not even see a match at SummerSlam between one of the White Six members. You know what I mean? As long as we're seeing some development and something new every week with it, I'm perfectly fine without a match for quite some time. You know what I mean? So you just develop that story and see what happens.
Well, I feel like it would be fitting if you had Uncle Howdy against Chad Gable at SummerSlam.
Well,
and
do we even know if he's Uncle Howdy still, though? That's another thing. He was Uncle Howdy when Bray was still around. Rest in peace to Bray Wyatt. But do we even know for sure he's still Uncle Howdy? I don't even think he is anymore. I think he may be introduced into a whole new character.
Well, whatever his name is going to be, if it's going to be, if it's going to be Uncle Howdy or if it's going to be a different name, I would like to see, that version of Bo Dallas against Chad Gable at SummerSlam, because I think it'd be like a nice nod to when the Wyatt family first debuted, and I believe Bray's first match as the Bray Wyatt character on WWE television was against Kane at SummerSlam in 2013. So I think it'd be a nice nod to do that.
Do we call him Bo Wyatt? That didn't sound right.
Wyatt.
Yeah, that didn't sound right. But the last name Wyatt should still remain the same, so maybe we should call him something else. I don't even know his real name. I don't know his real first name. I'm not sure, but I'm guessing Taylor. I could be wrong. Taylor Wyatt. That wouldn't sound bad, but Bo Wyatt, that sounded kind of crazy. Because if you just say it, it just sounds like one name, Bo Wyatt. Bo Wyatt.
Right.
Nah, that don't sound right.
No, I mean, I'm interested to see where this is going, but there is something else that's, extremely interesting on Raw, and it's more of a person, and I just want to know, what do you think is going to be next for Bron Breakker?
Intercontinental title, for sure. He went after Sami Zayn again. And I gotta be honest with you. I thought Chad Gable was gonna walk away as Intercontinental Champion at the end of that feud. And I was wrong. But here's the thing now. We've seen the match with Bron Breakker, Sami Zayn. I didn't care for it, the match itself. And I was very upset that Sami walked away as champion. Listen, Sami's been red hot for quite some time, since the whole Bloodline thing. that's been quite a while now. He's Intercontinental Champion. He's the third man to beat Gunther in WWE. The first one was Dragunov. Then the second was Bron Breakker, and now Sami Zayn. I feel like Sami Zayn has been established because he's done things. He is the only man in WWE history that can say that he knocked off the longest reigning tag team champions in WWE history. He knocked off the Usos with Kevin Owens. You know what I mean? So that's an accomplishment. Then he knocked off the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time, Gunther. He done that 2 years in a row at a WrestleMania. So Sami Zayn is on another level. He hadn't won the big one yet, but it's just like if he goes through his career and never wins a WWE title, it should be okay because he's done two things that nobody else can do, and he did back-to-back years. So Sami Zayn, good for him, but it's just like I don't care to see Sami Zayn as our Intercontinental Champion. I'm looking into the future, and Bron Breakker for me is just that guy. I want Bron Breakker to be the next guy, and I feel like he should be undefeated. I feel like Bron should be more protected. I feel like we've seen him in NXT for quite some time, and he was winning matches, and he started taking losses. The guy can take a loss. He's perfectly fine with taking losses. However, this stage, right now in this moment, I don't think Bron Breakker should be taking any losses whatsoever. The guy is just a complete athlete. He's a beast. He's a beast. And I don't think Sami Zayn should have went over, but he did. And I'm not gonna lie to you. If when SummerSlam happens, and if Sami Zayn walks away as the Intercontinental Champion, I'm going to be upset all over again. I'm not gonna sit there and tweet about it or anything of that nature because it's not that serious. But I will be pissed off all over again and just say, you know what, screw it. I guess we're dealing with Sami Zayn as Intercontinental Champion, so somebody else takes it away. How do you feel about it? I know you're a Bron Breakker fan too.
So yeah, I mean, I was very shocked that he lost. If you don't want to put the belt on him, I think there's other ways to do it besides handing him his first loss right now, right? But with the announcement yesterday from Adam Pearce that tomorrow night on Raw, Sami Zayn and Dragunov are fighting for the Intercontinental title, it tells me that match is not really going to end well for both men. Because I feel like Bron...
You said that Sami Zayn and Dragunov were fighting for the IC title?
Yeah, tomorrow on Raw. That was a breaking news announcement from Adam Pearce. So the only thing that's worrying
now
me,
it's looking possible. Maybe a triple threat match ends up happening.
Right. Well, that's what I'm thinking because I don't see any other way that match ends without both men getting speared in half by Bron Breakker. So
I didn't know that.
Every way.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So now it's even more interesting. I like Dragunov. I do. I think he's one of those ones. I don't think the fans have really gotten behind him just quite yet.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate. Yeah, I'm not sure why. His style is I like his style. The guy can wrestle. I like his style. He's got that hard hitting style. You know what I mean? I just think maybe there's no personality there. I think that could be it. I'm not 100% sure. He's not. Even when he was NXT champion, he wasn't the guy. In my personal opinion, he just wasn't the guy. But looking at him, it's just like now that it worries me even more. I'm not even gonna lie to you because man, damn, what if he walks away as Intercontinental Champion? It's like, what the hell? I wouldn't be too mad about it if he walked away as long as Sami Zayn don't walk away as champion. You know what I mean? That's all I really give a damn about.
That's my fear. My fear is that Breakker doesn't even get pinned, and Dragunov does if they do that three-way for SummerSlam, and Sami walks away. That's where I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because he's got to start losing that title soon. Again, I don't expect Sammy to keep that title that much longer because, and I guess we'll talk about it later on in the show, but I see him, going back with the OG Bloodline fairly soon. So I don't know how much longer they're going to be doing this with the guy.
Yeah. Well, let's hope for the best.
Let's hope for the best.
Yeah.
Well, I think the number one thing that everybody was talking about after seeing Raw last Monday, right, was the return of Rhea Ripley.
I only seen a highlight on social media. I didn't get to see Raw. Everybody, forgive me. This week has been, this week has been something else for me. I only got to watch a little bit of wrestling, and I did see Rhea. I saw her, and she looked very much pissed off. Yeah, you got more knowledge about it than I do, so let me let you take it away. So, I also asked you not to spoil it for me, so now would be a good time. Tell me what happened.
Yeah, so Rhea was not too happy, especially because when she returned, it was after Dominik and Liv won their mixed tag team match. And, somehow they ended up finding their way, Dominik laying down on the mat with Liv on top. So then when Rhea returned, she was not happy. Dom looked terrified. And Liv did the smartest thing that I think she could have done, and she just ran right out through the crowd.
Did she run, or did she skip out or walk out? Did she just...
Oh, no. She slid under the ring and, under the rope and just dipped.
Oof. Did that mean Rhea ran to the ring, or did she walk down the ring?
She walked fast. Oh, I don't want to say it was running.
Okay. So she was obviously pissed off.
Yeah, and I think Dom, from what I remember, tried to hug her. And she ended up nah, and she brushed him off. And I know, because the show ended up cutting off. I don't know if they went over time or anything, but on WWE.com, they ended up showing how he was walking after her and trying to talk to her. She was having none of it.
Well, I don't understand that. A woman gets upset. Your man side piece was taking good care of him and his friends, and you have a problem with that. Because you were gone, the side piece took care of a lot of things, Liv Morgan, that is. Because of Liv Morgan, the tag team titles are back with Judgment Day. You know what I mean? So it's just you can't be but so mad. She got these guys some gifts and everything like that. She kept your man, kind of happy. She sent a picture that we didn't get a chance to see, but Charlie Doe's expression said it all, and he said, "Now that's cool." So it's just what are you mad about? You did something that she wasn't doing. So it's just you should be more mad at yourself that you're a deadbeat girlfriend.
Right. Yes, I don't agree with any of that. So I will say I'm not too sure what's going to be going on with the Judgment Day because they don't really tend to follow orders that good. They're not really listening to Damian. Damian seems to take the leader, the leader role once Rhea left. I don't know. I don't even know why Carlito got into the group. I don't know why every week they can't.
They had nothing for Carlito, and that wasn't. Well, that wasn't fair to bring him back to WWE and then have really nothing for him because the LWO stuff is that's just cringe in itself, and it's there was nothing happening there with him. So I prefer him to be here than with the LWO.
Right. Well, I'm not sure how much longer this thing with Judgment Day is going to last because you can see that there's going to start being some type of split. Because, I feel like Finn Balor is still up to something with Liv.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I don't know if JD McDonough is going to be signing with them, which seems like might be very possible. I don't know where Dominik is going to be in this whole thing. And, Damian has a lot on his plate, especially since he has to defend his World Heavyweight Championship against Gunther. So I'm not too sure what's going to happen. So I'm going to be tuned in tomorrow to see how everything's going to shake out with Rhea returning. But yeah, I don't know. Dominik's going to have to pick, because I feel like, unfortunately for Dominik, he's been getting played out in this situation too.
Played out?
So,
shoot. Have you seen how Liv has been all over him and calling him daddy? You don't get played when a woman is all rubbing on you calling you daddy like that.
Well, I think they're just using him, because I feel like Finn has something to do with this. And I think they're using him to break up the Judgment Day, which I feel like is probably going to happen fairly soon.
I got to be honest with you. When Liv gave Dominik the key to the hotel room last week, right? If it was me, I'm saying if it was me, you wouldn't see me on camera for the rest of that night. I would have packed my bags and I would have went to the hotel. Oh, stop it. We would have just played it Uno.
Right. Oh, yeah, right. No, I mean, I knew that's where you were going, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't believe it, but I knew that's where you were going.
Well, I mean, good for you. I wouldn't believe it if I were you either, so.
No. Well, that's everything that was, those are all the major points of everything that happened on Raw. Now on SmackDown, there's a lot going on over there too. You have
hold on, wait a second.
That's been approaching over there.
Wait a second, real quick before you go to SmackDown. Because we did decide that we would talk about AEW as well, during some of our, podcast episodes. Because, we are podcasters now, so we do have to run down and talk about other shows. Unfortunately, we both skipped NXT. Just like I said, guys, bear with us. The more subscribers we have, the more we'll do. The more interaction that we get from you guys, the more we'll do. So we can, all have some great fun together and more great content to share. So we're not AEW guys. We used to watch AEW, but there's a reason specifically why we stopped watching. Alex, Cito, why did you stop watching AEW?
Well, I just started seeing. I started seeing a couple years ago that everything was going downhill. I saw that there was not a lot of programming happening, and the matches are fine, but you got to start programming a lot of stuff, and you need to have good storylines. And I felt like that wasn't really something that was important to them, and it really just couldn't keep my attention after a while. After a while, I was like, it can't really keep my attention. And then once I stopped watching, I think everything happened with Punk and everybody else. And I'm like, yeah, this is wild. This is like a worse version of WCW from 2000. Backstage wise, from everything.
Don't you dare.
No, I will. Yep.
No. I can't allow that to happen. This is nothing like WCW. I'm sick of the comparisons. They're not the same at all. They just want to.
I said a worse version.
I don't agree. Still, WCW was its own thing, and it failed. It failed because a lot of different things happened. Why
did it fail? Why did it fail?
Well, hold on. One of the things being, let's look at the differences, right? Also, Ted Turner was never involved with WCW as Tony Khan, as he is involved with AEW. Vince McMahon, same thing. Paul Heyman was involved with ECW. The owners were involved more into their company than Ted Turner. Ted Turner was just a guy who enjoyed wrestling so much that he created a wrestling company, WCW, and put certain guys in charge to take care of the matters for him. He did a merger with Time Warner, AOL at the time. They didn't want wrestling. Wrestling is something that they took away, and then boom, no more WCW. No matter how great WCW, if it was doing great at the time and that merger happened, they still didn't want it. Bottom line, they didn't want it, and it was never going to continue on. That's just the bottom line. So people want to say Vince Russo, Eric Bischoff, Hulk Hogan, they're not the bosses of anything. They cannot have that much control or that much damage control to put the company out of business because they're not the ones signing the checks. They're not the ones making all of the decisions. They're just not. Terry Turner did a merger. He lost control of his company, and his company went to bed. That's all that pretty much happened. So there is a major difference. Tony Khan is in complete control. And let's be fair. What happened when WCW wasn't doing well at certain points in time? What did Ted Turner do? He replaced Jim Herd. He replaced Bill. He replaced certain people out of their booking positions or out of their head positions, and he replaced them because there were certain things that were happening and weren't happening. Business wasn't doing so well, so he found somebody else. Eric Bischoff is a guy who came in and made a difference. He signed Hulk Hogan. He signed Macho Man. He signed big names. He signed Hall and Nash. He revolutionized WCW. He revolutionized the wrestling industry by creating the NWO. And people want to knock Eric Bischoff, oh, but he ripped the idea off of somebody of another organization in Japan. So what? We're not watching Japanese wrestling. We're watching wrestling here in North America. So it doesn't matter. It's like continuously discrediting people. Ideas happen. And that's just what it is. It was perfected, the NWO. Well, I wouldn't say perfected because, there was a lot of members in there that probably did not need to be in there, but that's that's neither here nor there. So that's the difference. And Eric Bischoff did not have a sloppy program. Vince Russo did his best to get everybody involved. Tony Khan as an and this is one of the things that Tony Khan said before he started, or as he started, we're not going to make the same mistakes WCW made. He talked about the size of the roster. What did he do? Almost instantly, he blew that roster up and continues to do so. So here's my thing as well. If you go back and you look at WCW and all the guys that they had signed on a weekly basis, and you went back and you saw the Monday Night Wars, did you see a good amount of talent on those weekly shows?
Yeah.
You don't see that in AEW. I watched half of Dynamite, right? And this is why I'm not a fan anymore, right? It's because there's a number of reasons, but one of the biggest reasons that I have against AEW, one of the reasons why I don't like it, is because the matches go on for too long. There's no need to have your opening match be 20, 30 minutes long. There's no reason for 20, 30-minute long matches, regardless of what. Main event matches, not even 20, 30 minutes. I think your main event matches should be about 10 to 15 minutes long. The longer you have the matches, you're just taking away from the other talent that you have. You have all this talent, but you don't utilize a lot of these guys. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's mind-boggling that you have probably 200 people, 300 people on a roster, but we're only getting to see maybe about 20 people on your weekly show. You cut it down. You cut the match time down because a lot of those matches, they only need to be 3 minutes long, especially when you have, a guy who's a nobody or a debuting guy. These matches are all looking competitive, which is so stupid. If everybody's looking competitive, then that means that everybody should get a shot at a title, which they got about 15 belts anyway. So it's just absolutely, utterly ridiculous. They're not the same. WCW matches didn't go on for that amount of time. They just didn't. They maneuver to the next thing, a segment, a promo, another match, so on and so forth. They were structured a lot better than AEW. AEW matches are great, right? They're good matches. They're great, but they're good matches. I don't think anybody can sit up there and say, oh, their matches are bad. That's not ultimately the problem with AEW is just like you said, the storylines, the booking, a lot of things don't make sense. So it's just like you're putting in great talented athletes that are wrestling great matches, but it doesn't make sense for some of these matches to occur when they occur. And for the length of time, it's just absolutely ridiculous. So there's a difference. This is why I don't like the comparison. So where's the comparison at? Because WCW failed and wasn't doing that well, and because AEW isn't doing well, what else? Like, I don't really understand the comparisons like that.
Well, I think the comparisons that a lot of people are giving is the fact that they're both on Turner Network channels, right? TNT. They were on TNT, now they're on TBS. You have people there from a lot of reports that are, that have creative control. And I think that was one of the problems WCW had, is that you had a good amount of people that had creative control. And in WCW, it was kind of like the Wild West. It was very sloppy. You didn't know what was going to happen, besides Ted Turner, and he was never really there, right? So you didn't know who was really in charge. And same thing with Tony Khan. He might be there and he might be the owner, but look at everything that's happened. There's no way you're going to say, oh, well, he's in charge, which he is in charge, but he's not really putting his foot down.
Well, how many WCW guys have you heard had creative control? We heard Kevin Nash had the book. He was a booker for a small amount of time. We've heard that, right? We've heard Hulk Hogan had creative control, but we only heard that he only used it like one time or didn't use it a whole bunch of times. But it's just like versus AEW, the EVPs, Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and I heard Mercedes Moné, she has creative control, from what I heard. I don't know how true that is, but it could be true. So just like all in all, you have more people over there in AEW that has creative control. When Cody Rhodes was over there, he had creative control. I think Brandy as well. So just like you had more people with creative control than WCW. They like to say, oh, they gave the guys, creative control. But how many WCW guys have you heard have creative control? I didn't hear anything about Diamond Dallas Page having creative control. Lex Luger, Macho Man Randy Savage, Booker T, Bret Hart, Roddy Piper. I didn't hear about that. I've only heard about it with Hulk Hogan, and I've only heard about it with Kevin Nash being a book. That's it.
Right. I mean, look, I thought at one point I heard that Sting might have had creative control. But again, here's the problem. Those guys that we're mentioning from WCW were all stars. You know what I mean?
That's the thing too.
That's the other problem with AEW. I don't know if they know how to produce stars.
They don't. They truly don't. They think the AEW fan base thinks that AEW has stars because of the name value, but it's just like a star gets people interested in watching. When you have the weekly numbers dropping, then you don't have stars because stars draw ratings. They draw an audience. They're not stars if that's the case. Again, great wrestlers, great talkers, great this, great that, that's fine. But when things don't make sense, nobody's watching. You're losing. You're no longer that star that you thought you were or you once were. Just, it don't work like that. But listen, I think we got a little bit off topic here. The whole point of it was me, reviewing some of the weekly stuff, some of the stuff I saw on Dynamite. Listen, first things first, Will Ospreay had a great promo against MJF. MJF was backstage somewhere in the back, whatever the case is. They put him on a big screen or whatever like that. It's pretty much a dark background. He's wearing dark colors. He's sipping on his wine, and the guy is a menace. He's doing his best promo work right now. He's a better MJF than ever before. It's incredible to see him right now. Unfortunately, I would like to see him in the WWE atmosphere instead. But he obviously chose to stay with AEW for a little bit longer. So, that's whatever. It's neither here nor there. That's going to be interesting because they actually have a match coming up on Dynamite next week. So I'm actually going to watch that match. I hope that it's not another 20, 30-minute match. It really doesn't need to be. And as a matter of fact, the promo that they had against one another and all this other good stuff, and I believe it'll be their first time wrestling each other, if I'm not mistaken, why wouldn't you save this for the pay-per-view instead? You know, that's another thing. You save it for the pay-per-view. I don't want to give Will Ospreay and MJF a Dynamite slot. I just don't. I don't think that's the move. They should just wait until All In Wembley. But they're not gonna do it. They're gonna get it sooner than later. Hopefully, you know, it's everything that we see, everything that we would expect. I'm just hoping that there's no blood in this match because they turn almost every match into a blood feud, which doesn't need to happen. The next thing was the Owen Hart Men's Tournament. Adam Page with his mustache, his glittery, glowy pants. They weren't glowing, but, you know, very, very noticeable. And he takes on Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson he's always going to be one of the best wrestlers of all time. You know, he is great. That in-ring ability that he has, his style, everything is great. That was a match that did take a long time. And Jeff Jarrett was the enforcer. Jeff Jarrett is the guy who still can go in the ring. I wasn't a fan of Jarrett when I was younger, but now that I'm older, I definitely appreciate because you see how wrestlers are wrestling now, and the style is completely different. And it's just like Jeff Jarrett is one of those standard basic wrestlers, and I feel like that is what the industry has been missing. Everybody wants to do flips. Everybody wants to do 50 moves in a match. But no one's doing basic moves and no one's selling. You need to sell. You know what I mean? Like, you can't hit a guy with 50 moves and he's not selling. He's back up again and, you know, doing more moves. Like, you're giving them everything in one match. You know what I mean? Like, you're giving out everything. It's like those ratings for these matches mean more to them than anything. It's just like, who cares? Like, why do you care that much? Are you getting a bonus? Are you getting more money the more stars you get from a personal opinion of one guy? It's utterly ridiculous. So the match goes on and on. They're both bleeding. Nice in-ring work from both of these guys. Bryan Danielson does pick up the win. Adam Page, he storms off because Jeff Jarrett had to get in the ring because the ref got knocked out. Danielson accidentally knocked the ref out. You know, Adam Page and Jarrett, they had a little bit of back and forth. But I did think at one point in time Jarrett was going to put hands on Adam Page, but he never did. Bryan gets the win. Martha Hart is out there, and so is Jarrett. They come down to the ring and they, you know, give Bryan the title, the Owen Hart title, and the trophy. And, you know, right there also we find out that he will be taking on Swerve at All In. And this is the thing that bothered me. Two things. Bryan is in the ring, and you hear whose house, and then Swerve comes out. The first thing that bothers me, right? We're in the month of July. Swerve Strickland is wearing a goddamn chinchilla coat to the ring. He's wearing a coat. I'm so sick and tired of watching foolishness. Why are you wearing a coat? Like, I get it's wrestling, but, you know, there's nothing wrong with changing your attire for the weather conditions. I know he's not wearing the coat outside, I get it. But it's not chilly in the ring, in the arena, in the empty arena. Well, it might be chilly because it is kind of empty. But you do see the other fans wearing a lot of shorts and a lot of short sleeves, and you're the only one wearing a coat. That was the one thing that bothered me. Then, like I said, Bryan is in the ring while Swerve is coming out, but then they go to a commercial break, and then from the commercial break, Bryan is gone. Why are you gone? This is the perfect way to confront your opponent for All In. But instead you have Strickland in there cutting a promo about Bryan and whatever else. I think, you know, the AEW fans are a little bit disappointed for Strickland's run so far as champion. But again, you can't blame that on him. You have to blame that on the booking. The poor booking decisions. That's what it's on. He was red hot. I'm not sure if he still has that red hotness to him right now. I don't know how long he's going to last as champion, but, this is about to say Daniel Bryan. This is Bryan Danielson's last year as a full-time wrestler, and maybe, hopefully, he does win the AEW title before his career is out. I kind of hope he does win it at All In. The guy deserves to be a major champion for this company. He just does. Why? Because he's head and shoulders above, I would say, probably 95% of the roster. You know what I mean? But moving forward, because like I said, I was a little bit busy this week, so I didn't catch up on all of AEW, right? And Alex, I think you mentioned what was at the end of the show, which you could chime in on that when we get to it. But before that, Samoa Joe versus Chris Jericho. I'm tired of seeing Chris Jericho. The AEW fans are tired of seeing Chris Jericho. They were shouting out, "Please retire Jericho," not too long ago at this guy. It's overwhelming. It's too much. It's ridiculous. Please retire. It's like a guy who just doesn't want to let it go. We see him way too much. And this is another issue. And I knew it from the beginning. I said that Chris Jericho was going to be a problem from the beginning. And guess what? He still is. Because he takes younger talent. Hook is champion, right? Champion. Guess what happens? He loses the title to Chris Jericho. What was the point in that? Why is Chris Jericho running around as FTW champion? Why did Hook not be able to beat Chris Jericho? Chris Jericho didn't need the win. This is the problem. Chris Jericho goes through matches, goes through feuds, goes through this and that, right? Then there was this one time, I don't remember when, but I don't remember the guy's name. I think it was Artie something, right? It was his first match on AEW television where he has another competitive match. There's another competitive match because we have to have a competitive match in AEW no matter what. He beats Chris Jericho. And what's his name again? I don't know. You don't know. I don't think the AEW fans really know. But nothing came of the guy because he's not holding one of their 15 belts that they have in that company. You know what I'm saying? So it's just ridiculous to have that. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. But Samoa Joe had his match. It was not a good match. I had to stop watching it within the first 5 minutes. It was just another garbage match, and that's when I said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I gotta go. So I did see what happened at the ending of that match on social media. Thank God for social media. We got to see Samoa Joe take the worst looking chokeslam bump in history as Big Bill chokeslams Samoa Joe on a pallet with a forklift. It was just ridiculous. It did not have a good impact. It didn't look good. It looked bad. It looked sloppy. It looked cheesy. It looked just like it was just a mistake. Then what was worse than that, Jericho looks like he's struggling to turn on the forklift and then rides Samoa Joe through a paper-thin wall. And then he's so proud of that. I'm just like, this is just bad. This is really bad. Like, none of this is good. They think this stuff is good. For whatever reason, I don't know. Chris Jericho is celebrating doing this like it's something to do. Like it was something great. It wasn't great. It wasn't great at all. Chris Jericho, I was a major fan, but it's time to retire. Let it go. Retire. And also, Samoa Joe is starting to look like a cheater. Yeah, he's starting to bald up a bit. A cheater. He's starting to bald up a bit. He's got the LeBron James thing going. He's balding a little bit. He's a little spotty. You know.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, he's probably gonna have to go with a baldy at some point in time. I don't know. But it's not looking good. You know. So you told me that you saw, or you saw a clip of
Right.
Toni Storm being attacked.
Yep.
And that was the ending of AEW, right?
Yeah.
That was like the last thing.
Yeah. So Mariah May ended up winning the Owen, and she went on stage right after she won,
Okay.
and Toni Storm was there, and she turned heel on Toni Storm, and she actually busted open Toni Storm. She started bleeding.
Oof. Because you got to bleed.
I saw it, and it was, yeah, I mean, everybody does, but it's mandatory. But, I thought it was really interesting, and I thought it was a cliffhanger, for next week.
Okay.
Now, hopefully, they're both going to be on next week's show. With AEW, it's kind of dicey.
And that's the problem I was talking about with that company. Well, like I said before, I think we touched on it in last week's episode. That Toni Storm she's a whole lot better here than WWE. She's a whole lot better than when she first started in AEW. Once they kind of, she was in a group with Saraya and Ruby Riott, and when they took her out of there and she started doing this whole gimmick, this whole, Hollywood star gimmick or whatever like that from, I guess, the early 1900s or whatever. It's gotten over. It's actually really, really good. She's pretty much the only thing I would really care to watch on AEW and, be satisfied with it. I mean, I like her stuff. So, I'll tune in next week to see if we see her again. Hopefully we do. More than likely, like you said, we probably won't. Because of Tony Khan's booking, of course.
Just a lot of people. You got to just get rid of some of the people that you got.
Oh, absolutely. And
I think the worst thing, too, is that it seems to be a very weak and sensitive roster for the most part. Because a lot of them can't really take criticism without complaining online. And I think that's the other thing. When you start looking, you're like, oh, okay, well. It might be one of those things where this company, a lot of the girls are probably tougher than a lot of the guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of softies in that company. I'm not going to lie to you. There's a lot of softies. Yeah, but that's neither here nor there. Let's get down to this SmackDown.
So, I'm not sure how much of SmackDown you saw.
I saw none of it. I saw,
none of it.
I saw none of it. I saw little clips, little highlights here and there. I was supposed to watch it today, but I didn't get a chance. I only got to see probably what looked like the ending of the show. Cody and the Bloodline. Was that the ending?
That was the ending.
Yeah, well then I saw some of that deep down.
Okay. So Bayley and Tiffany Stratton were having a promo in the ring.
Okay.
And then Nia Jax ended up coming out. And then Bayley started getting attacked, and then Michin came out of nowhere. Like nowhere.
Min chin or my chin or your chin?
Well, shit. Whatever her name is, she came out of nowhere, and I'm like, okay. I wasn't expecting that. Good to see that she's still working though. I felt like I saw her on NXT not too long ago. So, all right. Well, Tiff won the briefcase, right? She won the Money in the Bank briefcase.
She sure did. She's your favorite wrestler right now too.
I think she's probably one of the best women on that roster. It is what it is.
There you go.
I'm just saying. Well,
just saying.
The problem is that her and Nia Jax have, an alliance, right?
Oh, God.
And since Nia Jax won the Queen of the Ring, she gets, her title match against Bayley at SummerSlam.
Yep. That's another one. I hope Nia Jax wins that one.
Oh,
I hope
yeah?
she beats Bayley. Absolutely. 100% I do.
Well, it's crazy because I just want to know, who do you think Tiff is cashing in on?
I don't know. It could be, she has all the way up until a year from now to do so. So, I never really worry about the cash-ins until much later on. I don't think it's going to happen now. I could be wrong. But
I would love
just hope
for that.
I know you would. I know you would. Okay? Tippy time. I know you would, you sick son of a...
No, I'm just saying, Bayley, every time I see Bayley now, I'm half, falling asleep. I don't really care for her. Nia Jax is another one. I really wouldn't put the belt on her. So at least Tiff, you can put the belt on her. You got a couple faces on that roster. We were talking about Nishan, right? Naomi's another one. Clearly you got Bayley, so you could have some people that can have to go through Tiffany. I think that would make sense.
Hey, did Nia Jax say something about Bayley and a BBL?
Yeah, she actually did. I don't know, Nia was on some other, I don't know what she was on Friday.
Well, talk about it. I didn't see it. What was she on?
Well, no. You see, they had a reference of Bayley when she used to be a hugger, right? You remember that gimmick?
I remember.
And Bayley kind of asked her, is she BBL Bayley? That's what I was asking.
Ooh,
are you BBL Bayley? Is this BBL Bayley era or whatever?
BBL Bayley.
Right, and I'm
like, Bayley. Love it.
And I'm like, okay.
I mean, it has grown, so, nobody remembers it being, this big, when she first started, so.
Right, well, I feel like both Nia Jax and both Bayley probably should be worrying about their match at SummerSlam and that briefcase that Tiffany Stratton got. You know what I mean?
I know what you
Because I'll tell you right now, if Nia Jax wins, there's no saying that Tiff is not gonna, not cash in on her because they're in an alliance. I think Tiff will definitely cash in on Nia.
Yeah, that's not going to be easy to do because Nia Jax is, a much larger opponent. And if she just wins, she's not in the weakened state to lose that belt. So you want to catch Nia Jax in the weakened state if she does become champion, to beat her.
Right.
So it's not like if Bayley wins, I feel like if Bayley does win, she's more of an easier target after the win. I highly doubt Nia Jax would be a weekend winner. So I don't see that as an actual thing. So she might want to go after an easier targeted situation. So it's just like if Nia Jax is down and out basically, she had just won, then you might want to take advantage or you might want to reconsider, Bayley if she does come out, as the winner of that match.
Right, well, moving gears over, right?
Let's move them over to the left.
Are you a big fan of DIY?
Do it yourself? I'm kind of a rich guy that pays somebody to do it for me.
Oh, this guy.
So it's just like, do it myself? No, you're batshit crazy.
You're not doing it yourself, right?
DIY. No, I'm not doing it myself.
No, I believe you too.
Me? I have more money than the $1 Million Man. I have more cars than Alberto Del Rio. Okay? I don't do it myself. That's for peasants. That's for peasants. They do it themselves.
That's for peasants.
I have money in the bank, goddamn.
Well, I was referring to the tag team.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Those guys.
Oh.
Gargano, Ciampa, those two.
Oh, Gringo and Tomato.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They're those two guys. DIY. I didn't know that's who you're referring to.
Right. Well, because they
Tomato chimpanzee.
Yeah, well, they successfully retained. They retained their titles against A-Town Down Under.
Oh, well, good for them. Good for them. And,
no, it wasn't too good. It wasn't too good because I don't know if you've seen, but after the match, they got destroyed. I mean, it wasn't like no, much scarier by Jacob Fatu.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Men on a Mission.
No, but you know what? Jacob, he was on a mission. He was on a mission to seek and destroy, and he destroyed those two guys. I mean, it was impressive. Yeah, he destroyed the both of them. It was bad, too. Like for them, not for anybody else. Maybe the fans. I don't know how many
Hold on, everybody. Hold on, Tito. So we should start doing this, right? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Wrestling with Idiots podcast. Please subscribe. Please like. Please share. Please watch over and over again. Please tell your friends and family about us. We're trying to get monetized and make some money and all that other good stuff. So yeah, we'll just interrupt the show like this for no apparent reason to continuously plug ourselves as you were.
Yeah, so they got destroyed. I'll tell you right now. Whoa. You look about to
I am about to say something, goddammit. I'm about to say something. Please, ladies and gentlemen, like and share. We're Wrestling with Idiots podcast, please, on our YouTube channel. We're on Spotify. We're on Podbean. Check us out, please. But no, I like Jacob Fatu better when he was a bit bigger. So here's the thing, right? The WWE system always wants you to look a certain way. But sometimes, everybody has to look different. And he was looking, he was a bigger guy when he was wrestling with MLW, right?
Yep.
Now he is a lot smaller. I don't know if you have a problem with that. I'm not saying it is a problem. I'm just saying, I think everybody should be unique. And I don't think I want my guys, not my guys, but I don't think I want the wrestlers to all virtually look kind of the same. You know what I mean? You have to have some guys that are bigger than others. You don't want everybody to walk around looking like Randy Orton or AJ Styles or anything of that nature. You know what I mean? Or LA Knight. We have too much of that. Let some of these guys, have a little gut going on or whatever like that. It's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. Just to me, he was more threatening and looked better when he was a bit bigger and more impressive because of his size. That's another thing. You're impressive when you're a certain size. It's more impressive when you're at that size. Now he's at, the size that he's at now. And he's like, that's cool. I mean, he's still the same guy, but it's just like the same guys at that same size do the same thing. Guys, when he was a little bit bigger, weren't really all that athletic doing the same exact thing that he was doing. So it made him look more unique. He stood out. You know what I mean? But you're saying that he destroyed the do-it-yourself gentleman. And
yeah, he destroyed them.
That's good. I like that. I like to hear that.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I have a funny feeling, right? Because I'm not really happy that they took the belts off of A-Town Down Under, right?
Yeah.
I prefer them as champions than DIY, but I don't know. I have a sneaking suspicion that the Bloodline is probably going to try to go for those tag titles.
As well they should. But no, you know what? No, hell no. The A-Town Down Under it did suck. All right? It was suck. It was trash. It was manure. It was doo-doo.
I think they're better than DIY.
It was doo-doo. Stains. And the homeless guys underwear.
Like I was saying, I think they're still better than DIY.
Well, nobody cares what you think, buddy. Okay? Nobody cares. A-Town's Down Under. You know why? They're not a real tag team. They were just two guys that, they're young. They put them together. It was never meant to last. It was never meant to last. And obviously it's probably done up now. So thank God. I feel like Austin Theory, was on his way to doing bigger and better things. They put him in a tag team with Grayson Waller, which, he's a good talker. He's a pretty good wrestler. They're both good wrestlers. They're both young and everything like that. But being tag team for a long period of time, it's not for
Well, I think those are two guys that they have a hell of a bright future ahead of them.
Oh, absolutely.
I think they're both athletic. They both have a good look to them. They're both young. I think both of them actually have that it factor. So I would imagine that they're both going to be, big stars. I feel like Austin Theory might be a bigger star, but you never know with these things. I also thought the same thing about John Morrison with The Miz, and look how that turned out.
I knew you were going to go there with that because I often think the same thing. I was, very, very surprised on the way that went. And, I cannot believe that John Morrison never won the big one. I thought it was going to happen, and then he left, and then he came back, and then he was Johnny Wet, and then he was Johnny Gone.
Wait a minute. He did win the big one. What are you talking about? No, he was a former ECW World Heavyweight Champion, buddy.
Oh, you cut it out.
What?
You cut it out in biblical cord. You
come
stop
on.
it right there.
I'm not gonna stop.
The ECW title.
What? He was.
That ain't no title to win, especially under the WWE brand. Oh God.
I'm just saying.
Man, talk about a disaster.
Well, did you catch the ending of SmackDown? Did you see any clips of how the Bloodline left Orton and Cody Lane?
I did see that. I saw, Orton go to a table. I saw Cody Rhodes being hung up on the ropes and being being thumbed down.
Wow. That's a different show, buddy.
That's a different show. You're right. I gotta watch. Anyway, he got the thumbs down, the neck, the throat area, whatever it was. Is it like a Samoan spike? Right? Yeah. There you go. I was losing myself there for a second.
I know.
Yeah, I was just like, what the hell is that thing called again? The Samoan spike. Right, that's what it is. The Samoan spike. It's a thumb down your throat. That's all it is. A thumb right hitting your neck, hitting your throat, and then you're coughing up blood, and then you got to go to the doctor, and then he's going to give you a Band-Aid, and then you're going to go home, and then you're going to eat Jello because you have a sore throat, and then you're going to come back next week, and then the same thing is going to happen again and again. But you don't lose your voice, because apparently you can do promos again next week after that.
Well, I will say, I have a real funny feeling, right? Because Kevin Owens wasn't there on SmackDown. I think everybody is aware of everything he has going on personally, right?
Yeah, that's unfortunate, yeah.
But I'm telling you right now, I got a real funny feeling that I think maybe before SummerSlam, there's a good chance that Jimmy Uso returns, because when Solo was cutting the promo, he referenced Jimmy Uso.
Well, that's great to know, because I saw that Jimmy is possibly cleared and almost coming back. He's almost ready to come back. So yeah, I'm not mad at that. I would like to see good old Jimmy back in there, but Jimmy is going to have a hard hell of a time if he decides to go over there back to the SmackDown brand with no backup. So that's going to be the problem. Let's hope he's smart enough to keep his distance if he does show up on that show.
Well, you know what? I want to ask you.
Ask away.
If you had to pick this new Bloodline or the OG Bloodline, which Bloodline you rocking with?
That's not a serious question. Next question.
What happened?
I said that's not a serious question. Next question.
Well, no, because here's the thing. Jimmy's on his way back, right?
Yeah.
Roman's on his way back, right?
Right.
I would imagine Jay and Sammy are going to get involved in this.
Maybe.
But, maybe, right? They're both on Raw. I don't trust Paul Heyman. I'm going to tell you right now, I do not trust Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman is one of those guys that you can never trust him. As far as
he's gonna be back with the original Bloodline. And
I think he's going to betray the original Bloodline.
As far as that question goes, I can't believe you would ask that question. For our fans listening, which version of the Bloodline do you think is better, the original Bloodline or the 2.0 Bloodline? So to answer your question, which I can't believe you asked, obviously the OG Bloodline. Are you kidding me? It can't.
Well, I'm just asking. I just want to know if we're on the same page.
Listen, we're brothers from another mother. We're going to be on the same page with a lot of things, my friend. We think with logic. I don't know who would ever say that this Bloodline is better than the original. And here's some factors about why the OG Bloodline is better than the 2.0. I'll give you one factor. What in the hell is the name of the guy in the Bloodline 2.0 that wears a suit that hadn't wrestled yet?
Camacho. Stop playing.
Right. Nobody knows his name.
No,
they said it. They say
Tangaloa?
Whatever.
Tangaloa?
Yeah, but it could be. Yeah, but
okay.
It could be. It probably is. You know his name, but is his name impactful? No. His name value is nothing. Neither is the other one who has wrestled. Their name value is nothing. His name value is nothing. It's nothing.
Come on, he was in the Bullet Club.
I don't care where he was at. I don't care if he was in a dodgeball club. I don't care if he was in a Bulletproof Vest club. I don't care. My whole point is, you know who Sami Zayn is. You know who the Usos are. You know who Roman is. You know who Paul is. But you don't really know the other two. I mean, even if you know them, I'm not saying you don't know them, their name value, what they've done, it doesn't resonate against the original members of the Bloodline. And I get it, they just came over, but still and yet, they haven't done anything significant to carry a name value of anything important. And by the way, the guy has screwed up twice since he's arrived. His debut, he screwed up, and then with the low blow to Kevin Owens, he screwed up twice. And it was bad. He had a job. He had one job, and he couldn't get it together. I don't know if he's, nervous. I don't know what it could be, but he's messing up and he's making things look bad. And you can't really afford to mess up because first impressions are everything, and it's not looking good. The only thing good about the Bloodline 2.0 is Jacob Fatu because if you ever see,
you don't like Solo?
I like Solo. I like Solo just
okay.
fine.
I mean, he just got to stop dressing like The Weeknd, but I like him.
Well, he can dress up as The Weeknd.
No.
He could dress up as Wednesday Addams. He could dress up as whatever
he got to go back. No, he got to go back to dressing like Taz with the towel on his head. That's that whole Weeknd thing. That's not for him. No.
But you have to develop. And by the way, he is the tribal chief.
Well, I mean, I'm acknowledging him, right? I'm just saying.
You better. You don't end up like Paul Heyman, so you better.
I'm telling you right now, I think Heyman's going to turn on the OG Bloodline when this whole thing really hits the fan.
I think we all can agree that the one that's pulling the strings with the Bloodline 2.0, I think we all know who that is. If you're what Jay Grizz is cooking.
No, I don't smell anything.
You don't smell anything?
Mm-mm. Well, are you cooking something or are you baking something? I don't smell either.
Well, I'm personally not cooking anything anymore, but I think Dwayne Johnson is cooking up all this ingredients called the Bloodline 2.0, and I think he is the final boss. Which is more impactful, the tribal chief or the final boss? When you say the final boss, right, when you say the final boss, that means you are above the tribal chief. So,
I think so.
Yeah, well, I know so, buddy. I know so.
I mean, as long as you know it, then
I know. Man, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is our weekly review of some good old-fashioned wrestling. We missed out on Rampage, and so did millions of people. Everybody else. Also, we missed out on Collision, and so did everybody else. But if you're a fan of that stuff, go to the YouTube channel, Wrestling with Idiots podcast. Please leave your comments. Let's talk. We can talk all day, every day. We are available. We have nothing better to do in life but to talk to you guys all day, every day. I don't have a job. Cito doesn't have a job. All we do is podcast. We do nothing else for, isn't that right, Cito? We do nothing, right? But podcast.
That is not true whatsoever.
He's lying. It's so true. It's so true. That's why we're going to do an episode every single day. Every single day.
I also didn't agree to that.
He did agree to it. He told me. He wrote it down. I have a picture of it. I have it framed on my wall, and he said, and I quote, "We are going to podcast, and we're going to do a show every single day until we're rich. And we have a yacht." And you know what? He said it like this. He said it to the point where he wants more money than Ric Flair. He said he wants the Rolex.
I'm not gonna. Right.
He wants the Gator shoes. He wants to spill champagne on his Louis Vuitton shoes. This is what you told me. That's what you told me. You don't remember?
I don't remember. I'm gonna be honest with you.
This guy. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, enough of the Ric Flair stuff. I did.
That man alone.
Well, for Halloween when I was about 7 years old, up until 18 years old, I dressed up as Ric Flair for Halloween. But that's for another story.
Ric Flair divorced at that time too?
Oh yeah, I had about 8 of them. 8 of them.
All right.
It happens.
It does.
So it is what it is. So we just want to let you guys know that SummerSlam is right around the corner, and we want to talk a little bit about SummerSlam year by year. We're going to go through 1988 when it first started. We got the Mega Bucks versus the Mega Powers. Anybody remember the Mega Powers? Raise your hands. Who remembers them? You?
I remember them. I remember them.
Yep. It was Macho Man Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan taking on the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and Andre the Giant. Well, the Giant. Listen, I gotta be honest with you. The Mega Powers were something special. Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, they were a great tag team for the time being. They defeated the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and Andre the Giant. Never a great match. Never a great match. Anytime I feel like Andre the Giant was in the ring, he's more of a, just an attraction kind of thing. So I never really cared for the match, either way, but it was one of the biggest things that happened at that time. But I did like the matching outfits with the Mega Powers. Macho Man got down with the red and the yellow. Liz looking all nice and hot and sweet and sexy. Cito, you weren't born back then.
I was not born. I remember going back and watching a lot of this stuff when I was younger. And it's crazy because it's one of those things where you have two of the top guys, right, teaming up. Like, as an example, could you just imagine if in 2009 you had Cena and Batista as an actual tag team?
That would have been good. That would have been good.
And then you just build up to their Mania match?
Yeah, that would have been good. I actually enjoyed.
wild.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed any time Batista and John Cena shared a ring because they were, at the top of their game, and you always want to see, things like that happen. Let's talk about 89 real quick. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, we just want to let it be known that, we are just going to quickly go through these things with the whole SummerSlam situation. Not going to go into too much detail because if we did that, the show would run very, very extremely long, and we don't want to do that. We're trying to keep a formula up until a certain amount of subscribers. When you start to subscribe and share with your friends, and we get more views and more subscribers, we will start to do more. But in the meantime, in between time, we are going to do little short videos that are only going to last 24 hours long, so it's not going to be that long. 1988, we have the Ultimate Warrior, versus Ravishing Rick Rude for the Intercontinental Championship belt. Tito, you were not born yet for this one, my friend. I was.
No.
I was born in 87, so I was here on Earth with the pacifier in my mouth at some point in time. I don't think around this time. Maybe too old for that, but how do you feel about the Ultimate Warrior?
He was over.
Yeah.
He was over again. And, look, it was a different time, right? But, yeah, he was over. Now, was this the rematch to their Mania match?
You know what? I hate that you just put me on the spot like this because I remember Rude and Ultimate Warrior. I remember they had a SummerSlam steel cage match when Ultimate Warrior was WWE Bleep champion at the time. I don't know if they wrestled at WrestleMania. I don't really remember. Maybe they did. Maybe I don't remember. We're going straight off memory here. I'm not quite sure.
I could have sort of had a Mania match.
They could have. Just because I don't remember doesn't mean it didn't happen, ladies and gentlemen. But that very well could have been the thing. But I'm not gonna lie to you. When you think of Ultimate Warrior, when I think of Ultimate Warrior in the WWF, I remember him being linked up with Rick Rude more than anybody else. I think his stuff with Rick Rude. Oh, I'm sorry, and with Macho Man. I think his best work came with him going against Rude and Savage. If you agree, please, drop by in the comments. Let it be known. Do you agree? Was Warrior's best work with Macho Man and Rick Rude? If not, let me hear what you got to say. Any kind of title match? Let's talk about. Well, we ain't gonna talk about the other one until a little further down. Let's talk about 1990. We got the Hart Foundation where they defeated Demolition for the WW Bleep Tag Team Champions of the World in a 2 out of 3 pinfalls match.
I always liked Demolition. I don't know.
You like the action smash?
I did. I don't know why I liked them, but I did. Like, from everything that I've seen of them, I always liked them. I thought they're pretty cool tag team. I've always heard, because again, I wasn't born till way after this, but I always heard that they were like a knockoff of the Road Warriors, or they were supposed to be. But I liked them. I thought they were. No, that's when I heard it. No, I heard it like a couple years ago. Yeah.
Right.
But I've always liked them. You know what I mean?
Hell of a knockoff,
I
but
feel
they
like
were a great tag team.
Yeah. And then would you agree with this the best Hart Foundation?
Yeah. Well, what do you mean the best Hart Foundation? Because there was one where I think Jim and Owen teamed up, and they were the new foundation, I believe, and then you had the group with all five.
Yep.
If you're talking about the with Brian Pillman, Davey Boy Smith, Owen Hart, Jim the Evil Knight, and the best there is and the best there ever was, then hands down that would have been the best version of the Hart Foundation, in my opinion.
The group?
The group, yes, absolutely. The faction,
Okay.
100%, yes.
You thought it was better than the tag team?
Oh, absolutely. Hands down. Because, you know why? I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. Because Bret Hart was the star of that show of that group, of that faction. Because he was also the star of the 1991 Intercontinental title match, which was the best match on that card that year, where he defeated Mr. Perfect. Mr. Perfect was one of the greatest Intercontinental champions of all time. Mr. Perfect was great. He was the athlete of athletes. The guy couldn't miss. The guy would chew gum, spit it up in the air, slap it out of the way. He would never miss the slap of that gum. He would throw his towel on the back, catch it with the other hand. He would catch it. Mr. Perfect was great. And Mr. Perfect was great in almost every match he had. The guy could sell. The guy could wrestle. The guy was big. He was strong. He was intimidating. He was Cito. I think he was perfect.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy because when I was younger, whenever I would spit my gum out, I would try to slap it. And about 80% of the time I would actually hit it because, I don't want to brag, but I'm pretty good. You know what I mean? I'm pretty good.
You're mediocre at best, but okay.
Oh, jeez. Whoa. Whoa, who are you talking to? I thought you were alone.
You.
No, there's no way you're talking. There's no way you're
talking to you.
No possible way.
You know what? You know what? I'll challenge you to a
what?
SummerSlam match this year.
Okay.
Yeah, we could do that. We could do that.
You're not gonna beat me, but okay.
No, we'll see about that, my friend.
We will.
We will.
We will. But I feel like, Mr. Perfect was also one of those guys that every time we talk about someone who should have been WWF champion, right? He was one of them.
The name always comes up. Absolutely agree.
It always comes up. And I thought he was really good. He was amazing. He was a beast. I actually liked him as a manager as well.
Yeah.
And I didn't have an issue with him as a commentator.
Neither did I. And you know why? Because he was perfect. That's why. But what's funny, we move on to SummerSlam of 1992. British Bulldog defeats Bret Hart for the Intercontinental title. Bret Hart is pretty much here between 1990, 1991, and 1992, pretty much the unsung hero of SummerSlam. He's doing a great job. He's a champion, walking out of SummerSlam in 1990. He's a champion in 1991. He walked out as champion. He didn't walk in with the belt, but he walked out with one. But in 1992, he takes on the British Bulldog at Wembley Stadium. Everyone talks about this match, but nobody ever talks about how great the Bret Hart British Bulldog match was that took place at In Your House. I thought the In Your House match was a better match. I don't remember what In Your House it was or the year, but it never gets talked about. They always talk about this one, I guess, because it's happening at Wembley Stadium. These two had chemistry that was just undeniable.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good match, and I'll tell you right now, I kind of would wish they had a big pay-per-view or a big PLE in Wembley. I think the crowd would just be amazing for that, right? Like off the charts.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
And I think it would really help the show. And again, I thought it was a good match. From what I remember watching, this one he was married to Bret's sister.
Yes.
Right, and some of that was in the storyline, right?
For the In Your House?
Like trying to
or the SummerSlam?
For the SummerSlam.
She was there in attendance, but I don't remember.
Right, she was there. Because I do remember her being there.
Yeah, I don't remember the build up. I don't remember if they had a build up. You know what I mean? Like I really don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember. I remember Hulk Hogan telling a Make-A-Wish kid, you know, and giving him tickets saying that he was going to be at, well, I'm just saying what Hulk Hogan said. Hulk Hogan said that he was going to be in the main event at SummerSlam of 1992. Hulk Hogan, buddy, you lied to the kid.
Oh, stop.
I'm
He didn't
just
lie
saying.
to the kid.
Oh, well,
Stop.
okay,
He
what
didn't
would
lie
you
to
call
the
it?
kid.
What would you call it?
He lied when he told that story. It's a fake story.
Either way, Hulk Hogan says you are a liar. But you know
Oh,
who's not a liar? You know who's not a liar?
I
A
want
lot
to
of wrestling fans, when they say HBK is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, because in 1993, he defeated Mr. Perfect and remained Intercontinental Champion. Thanks to Big
I'll tell
Daddy
you right
Cool
now.
Diesel, of course, Shawn Michaels got a count-out victory.
Well,
Was that
Shawn
your...
Michaels.
No. We're not going to skip over that. We're not skipping over that. Okay? Did you just do that?
I did do that.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
Jesus. Tap dancing.
Oh, you said Diesel, right?
I did say
You
Diesel.
said Diesel.
Yeah, but not the Fisher Price version.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. I'm sorry to put you out there like that.
Shawn's my goat. That's my goat right there.
He's
Shawn
your
Michaels.
goat. Shawn Michaels.
That's my goat.
HBK. You know what's crazy? Shawn Michaels and Mr. Perfect, their chemistry just wasn't there, which is crazy because on paper they're both good, but for whatever reason, you know, if you've ever watched those two wrestle, the chemistry just wasn't always there. I don't know why, I don't know how, but it just wasn't.
Yeah, which is wild because you would think that those two would be able to have some amazing chemistry. But again, it's, not everybody's going to click. Not everybody's going to click.
Yeah, not everybody's going to click up like Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Hall and Nash, and X-Pac. But you know who was a good click? You know what's a great click? When they clicked the blue steel cage together in 1994 when Owen Hart took on Bret Hart for the WWE Championship. I enjoyed this match so much. Every time Bret and Owen wrestled, I always enjoyed it. When I was a kid, I got to watch a house show live in person, Bret Hart versus Owen Hart. Bret Hart won that match. These two, great chemistry. The ring gear. I also like the fact that when they split up, Owen still remained a Hart. He didn't change his ring gear. He kept the same color. He didn't change his ring gear or anything of that nature. Pretty much remained the same. The sibling rivalry was just great to watch. They couldn't miss with these two. I think this match was better than their WrestleMania match. What do you feel?
It's crazy because I was just about to say that I feel like this match was better than the Mania match. And it's crazy because you would think that the Mania match would be a better match, especially with this one being in a steel cage. But I thought it was a better match. I thought they were great together. I think they might be, out of every brother, combination that's, wrestled each other, I think they might be the best ones.
I agree. I would say the same exact thing. And real quick, side note, I think between this match and the match that Bret had where he defeated Yokozuna, I think that really solidified him as a main eventer, as the face of the company. Because a year prior, right, he took on Yokozuna at WrestleMania 9. Hulk Hogan got in the way of that. Hulk Hogan was still around.
Oh, stop.
Well, I mean, it's a true thing. It happened. And then at WrestleMania 10, Bret does win the belt. But I kind of feel like this match right here may have solidified Bret as being the top guy in WWE. Hogan is gone at this time. He had already been gone for quite some time because he had left. His last match at the time was it was at the King of the Ring 1993. But still and yet, I feel like there was a struggle. They kind of wanted Luger to be the next Hulk Hogan, which didn't pan out to be. And then you have Yoko as a champion now, and then you still have Bret Hart. The fans wanted Bret, but they tried to see if they could get Luger over, and they just couldn't get him to that Hulk Hogan level. Not even close to it. So I think really this match solidified Bret as the guy moving forward in that company as a face. And, we talked about 1995. We talked about the return match with Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels for the Intercontinental title. Now, the first one was a classic. People talk about it to this day and say it's the best ladder match in wrestling history. I tend to disagree. If you want to know my opinion, don't ask me today because I don't know the answer. I would have to go through all the ladder matches that I've ever seen. I think Chris Jericho versus Chris Benoit at the Royal Rumble 2001 may have been the best ladder match in my opinion. It could be something else, but again, like I said, I have to look at other ladder matches. But to me, this second ladder match that they had wasn't even better than the first one. Or was the first one better? Do you remember this match at all?
I remember the first one more than this one. The first one I remember more than this one. And I thought the first one was a little better than this one, from what I remember. But, again, to be fair, the first one, the Mania one, is the one that I've seen a lot more. I might have seen this one maybe twice. The Mania one I've seen probably over 9 times.
And the reason why is because I feel like they promote the first one, way more than they do this one. This one is one of those ones where it's just like kind of like it happened, and there were restrictions in this one. I don't know if you know or remember, but they couldn't really use a ladder as a weapon, so they had to kind of create something outside of that. And, kind of, I guess, run into the ladders or do something with it, but they couldn't really use it as a weapon at this point in time. I'm not quite sure why, don't remember, but yeah, they never really talk about this one like they do the first one. So it's just one of those things where it's just like, I might have to watch it back, at this stage of our lives and, review it. But again, people, we're talking about SummerSlam 1995. You're wrestling with idiots. Get into the comments. Start interacting with us. Like I said, we don't have jobs, so we have all the time in the world to talk to you. Moving on, 1996. Shawn Michaels is a star here, as he takes on another guy who's a star. You know who he takes on in 1996, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's time. It's Vader time.
It's Vader time. It was never Vader time in the WWE bleached because he never won the big one, and he was supposed to win it, but a certain person...
Oh, you are something else.
Well, this is just from what I heard. A certain person who had 5'10" and who is now bald, who is now running NXT, who was twerking with a bad hip and a busted knee with Sexy Red some months back, Shawn Michaels took the steam out of Vader by making claims that Vader was unsafe to work with, and Shawn Michaels got visibly upset when Vader didn't move your fat ass. I thought that was a good match.
I thought it was a good match. Again, it's going to be hard to find Shawn Michaels matches that aren't good. You know what I mean? Shawn's that dude. Again, I already said it, and I'm going to keep saying it. He's my GOAT. And I feel like once we start looking at all the matches of that year for the SummerSlam, you're going to start seeing his name a lot more on this list.
Yeah, we'll see about that because we do see his name in the 1997 SummerSlam, but he didn't walk in as champion and he didn't walk out as champion. As a matter of fact, he walked out with some spit in his face after Bret Hart spit in his face because you know who did walk out as champion? Bret the Hitman Hart did when he defeated The Undertaker because Shawn Michaels is clumsy and he deliberately turned his back on you and I and the rest of the fans like he did Marty Jannetty when he threw him out of that barbershop window by hitting The Undertaker in the head with a chair.
All right. The whole thing you said about Marty wasn't even true.
Yeah,
he was afraid of Shawn, and he just tried to escape through the window. If he's a coward, he's a coward. I don't know what to tell you.
That's a rumor. That's a rumor, sir. That is a rumor. Okay?
I've seen that video many times, and I see him escaping, trying to escape, running from his life, escaping through the window. Coward.
Apparently, the rumor that I heard, Marty Jannetty forgot a bag of white substance at his house and jumped through the window and tried to hurry up to go get it.
Yeah, I just heard that he was afraid of Shawn, and I don't blame him.
Well, you know what? That could also be true as well, but
I think that's what it was.
But you know, that was another good match though, Bret and Undertaker. I always enjoyed watching Bret and Undertaker. The styles are just very different, and like Undertaker said, I think Bret Hart was the first guy, for sure, to have The Undertaker wrestle a different style. And, you know, we saw The Undertaker and how he could wrestle. The Undertaker is 6 foot, he's probably 6'8". I think he's billed at 6'10". But I think his actual height is maybe 6'8", 6'9", or something of that nature. And, you know, he could wrestle. Like, he could really wrestle. And thank you to Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels for being the two guys that showcased that The Undertaker could be a good wrestler. The Undertaker is one of those guys where he doesn't get enough credit for his wrestling ability. His character work is amazing. But as far as being a wrestler, like, my God, the guy can wrestle.
Yeah, I mean, those three guys in particular, when you look at 96 and you look at 97, you know, those are the guys that really kept WWE afloat. Because you can say, oh, well, they were losing, and, you know, those guys really kept that company alive at that time.
Yep, they sure did. You know who else kept it alive? In 1998, when The Rock versus Triple H for the Intercontinental title in the ladder match. You know, I gotta admit to something.
What's up?
Watching this match for the first time, I was just like, man, I love this match. Triple H had his knee worked on before the match in Sunday Night Heat. For those who don't know, Sunday Night Heat was a show on Sunday nights, and you could watch Sunday Night Heat on a Sunday night, especially in the summertime where it'd be hot. So therefore, it's Sunday Night Heat, ladies and gentlemen. But I did look back at this match because every year SummerSlam comes on, right? I do go back and watch some SummerSlams, and this match just wasn't as good as I remember it was. It wasn't that good to me. It was a little slow. It was just not all that great after watching it again. However, I did enjoy the feud between The Rock and Triple H because it progressed from different stages and phases of their careers, and that part I do love. This was a really, 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 really good insight on the future of what will be The Rock versus Triple H.
Yeah, you know, growing up, I actually had the Triple H My Time VHS. I don't know if you remember that tape.
VHS, sir.
Yeah.
Do you mean the same thing that was presented a couple of weeks ago by Sister Abigail?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, then yes. I remember.
And this match was actually in that VHS tape.
Oh, jeez.
So I do remember watching this match quite a bit when I was younger. I do remember at one point, I believe Mark Henry and China ended up getting involved.
I think they did.
Yeah. And I thought it was a really good match, especially when I was younger, because I used to watch it a lot. Watching it as an adult, I do have the same opinion that I don't think it was as good as what I thought it was when I was younger. But I still think it was a good, solid match.
Speaking of good, solid matches, 1999, Mankind, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H. Jesse the Body Ventura was a special guest referee for this matchup. Now, you and I, off the record, off the podcast, talked about this not too long ago. I don't remember where it stemmed from, but it didn't start with talking just about this match, but we did say, and Triple H did make mention of it, it didn't make a whole bunch of sense because Austin walked in as champion, Mankind walked out as champion, and then the next night, Triple H walked out as champion. Mm-hmm. What in the world was the purpose in that when you could have just simply had Triple H walk out of SummerSlam as champion? Because now you make Mankind kind of look weak. I never liked one-day champions. I was never a fan of a one-day champion. If you're transitioning from one day to another, fine if it's a one-on-one match. However, this is a triple threat match. I don't recall the last time I've seen a triple threat match like this where the champion loses to one guy and then the next night, the next guy who's the champion now loses to the guy who never lost anything to begin with. So I never, what's crazy too? I'll admit, I never watched this damn match.
Oh, you never seen this match?
I never seen it. Hell, I don't remember SummerSlam 1999 at all.
That was the SummerSlam in Minnesota.
Yeah, I get that, but was it any good? Do you remember it?
I thought it was an alright show. I didn't think it was a bad show.
Well, I don't think WWE was putting on anything bad in 1999 as opposed to, well, not opposed to, but in 2000 it got even better because we got to see the Hardy Boys, your favorite tag team, Edge and Christian, and the Dudley Boys, which I think the Dudley Boys is probably top 5 hands down tag teams of all time. Now, I'm trying to remember. This was because they had
TLC because they had the triple or the three-way ladder match at Mania at WrestleMania 2000.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. You're right. Because they had 3 matches all together, right? They had the ladder match. Well, it wasn't declared TLC until this time, right? So this was TLC. Okay, so this was the TLC match.
And then at 17, it was TLC 2, I believe.
Yep. And did Edge and Christian win all of them? I believe they won this one.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they won the SummerSlam one, right? And they won the WrestleMania 17 one. I think they could have won the 2000 ladder match as well.
They did win the 2000. They won that one because that one ended with if I remember, I think that one ended with Matt Hardy reaching up for the titles, and then he got thrown off, I think, by Edge, and he fell right in through the table. And then Edge and Christian stood on top of because they had 2 ladders and a table on top of the ladder, and they stood on top of the table that was on the ladders and pulled the belts down.
Got you. Makes a whole lot of sense. Malfunction here. Jeff Hardy was also involved in another ladder match the year after for the Hardcore Championship as he took on Mr. Monday Night, Mr. Pay-Per-View, Rob Van
they
Dam.
were just having
Damn it.
bangers at this time, man.
I don't think
Because
Jeff Hardy ever won a match against Rob Van Dam.
You know, it's funny that you say that because I was saying the same thing a couple of years ago. Because I think even like in TNA, right? I don't even know how many times he beat him. Now I don't remember him beating Rob like that. I think Rob was always one of those guys that just had his number.
Yeah, and I never did like stuff like that. But their matches were really, really good. Their chemistry was always like really good. Which was kind of surprising to me, but they made it work. And Rob Van Dam is one of those guys. He's one of those guys that watching him, I get excited watching Rob Van Dam, especially back when he was in the original ECW, the only ECW that actually mattered. This SummerSlam match was another one of those matches where I don't quite remember, but I do know this. It wasn't a bad match. Of course it was. It had Rob Van Dam in there. Just like you said with Shawn Michaels. You can't really point out a bad Rob Van Dam match. If there's a bad Rob Van Dam match, it was probably a tag team title title match, but it's probably a tag team match or something. Yeah. But a solo Rob Van Dam match, I don't believe it exists. And if it does exist, then it's just a figment of my imagination. But you know what? In 2002, oh man, I got to talk about 2002 because 2002 is my favorite SummerSlam of all of the times. Of all of the times. What do we have in 2002? See, we were going through this, and just bringing out certain moments. But when we talk about 2002, we talk about Kurt Angle wrestling Rey Mysterio in the opener. We talk about Chris Benoit, the Intercontinental Champion, taking on Rob Van Dam. We talk about Shawn Michaels versus Triple H in an unsanctioned match. It was Shawn Michaels' return to the wrestling ring. He was gone since 1997. Right. He hadn't wrestled since wrestling Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 14. He comes back, defeats Triple H in a very, very, very extremely good match. And then you had the crowning, ladies and gentlemen, the crowning of Brock Lesnar, who defeated The Rock. This SummerSlam is the best SummerSlam in my personal opinion. This SummerSlam is just head and shoulders above everything else because of it. Wait a minute. Didn't Edge and Eddie Guerrero have a match on this card too?
Yep. Well, yeah, and that's the thing. So this SummerSlam in particular, I've seen probably close to 100 times because I had it when I was younger, and I believe this was actually Rey Mysterio's debut match.
Yes, it was. Well, was it his debut match or was it his debut pay-per-view match? Because I think he did wrestle a match before he got in an actual wrestling match against Kurt Angle. I think he wrestled before. I think it was his pay-per-view debut match.
Well, okay. So I thought, again, I'm not shocked that, Shawn and Triple H have the match of the night, but it was just so many matches that were great. Because you had that match, like you said, you had Chris Benoit, Rob Van Dam. It was an Intercontinental title match, and if you remember correctly, Steph was the GM of SmackDown, and she wanted Benoit to have, bring the title to SmackDown. And then you had Eric Bischoff, who wanted RVD to bring the title to Raw. And shortly after this, they made the U.S. title. You had Eddie Guerrero versus Edge, which was a really good match. You also had Test versus The Undertaker. And then I believe you had Booker T and Goldust, which I love them as a tag team, against Christian and Lance Storm, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, if that's the case, then yeah, like I said, this is the best SummerSlam because you had so many great matches, and Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio was a hidden gem. I mean, who would have known how great those two would have been, in the ring. We should have gotten more Eddie Guerrero versus Edge matches as well. We should have got a lot more of those two. Rob Van Dam and Chris Benoit were just magic together. These matches that we're talking about, they were all magic matches. And some of these matches, we never got a chance to see them progress into strong enough feuds that would last a lifetime. But a lot of these matches were capable of that. But we have to move on, and we have to go through one more match because, like we said, we were going to keep this kind of short, but, we ran over time. 2003. We're just going to talk about the main event real quick. Now, I'm going to throw the names out here, right? And this is what I mean about name value. Because if you are a wrestling fan of today and you hear some of these names and you recognize some of these names, as of today, you would have never thought that Randy Orton would have been eliminated so quickly within this match. This is the first ever. No, this is not. I'm sorry. This is the second ever Elimination Chamber match because the first one happened at Survivor Series. So my mistake already. This was Triple H, the champion, Goldberg, Bret Hart's best friend in the world. We have Kevin Nash. We have Chris Jericho. We have Randy Orton. We have Shawn Michaels. Alex Cito, before you go, I want to say a couple of things about this match, right?
Say a couple.
Some things that bothered me. I know Goldberg had just came in. Right. But Kevin Nash just pretty much got out of a feud with Triple H. Kevin Nash was kind of eliminated pretty early. Shawn Michaels didn't really do anything significant. Randy Orton didn't get any kind of real shine in this matchup. Don't really remember how well Chris Jericho did in this matchup. But all I could remember is the fans were not happy because Goldberg pretty much should have won this match. He didn't win it. And I think fans are really, really thinking that this was going to be Goldberg's night. Were you one of those people that were upset because you thought Goldberg was going to win? Did it matter to you? Did you think somebody else was going to win? What were your thoughts on this match?
Well, at this time, I was a kid. I was young, right?
Okay.
So I was rooting for Shawn to win. So I was kind of upset when Shawn didn't win, and then I was expecting Goldberg to win. And I was a little, I was like, okay, well, maybe Goldberg should have won. But then, you had, because I believe that was the finish when he went to spear Triple H. And I think Ric Flair had threw in the sledgehammer and they caught him.
Woo!
Right?
Yeah.
I think they caught it. It was like a spear, got hit with a sledgehammer. So I liked the finish and I was like, okay. And I think the next month is when Goldberg ended up winning the title. So I never really had a big issue with it. But, growing up, you start seeing like, everybody was upset about it. I really wasn't that upset about it. But I was a kid when I saw this.
Yeah, I mean, and I was never the biggest Goldberg fan, but at this time, I was kind of sick of watching Triple H being champion for, an extended period of time. I felt, it was Goldberg's time, and it should have been right then and there. But, in hindsight, it didn't really matter because Goldberg winning the title afterwards, it was just never anything that, you can remember as being good. Because when he won it, nothing really came about. Nothing really ever came from it after he was champion. So it's just like, pretty much could have gone without him winning the belt altogether, to be honest with you. So who gives a shit? Or who gives a crap? Or who gives a poo? Listen, I don't know. I don't know if we can curse on these things. We haven't gotten anything, so, maybe I should watch my mouth. Maybe. But hey, I have plenty of time to do that. This is Cito and Grizz time to shine because we don't work. We don't have jobs. Podcasting is all we do. Every day, we're coming up with new shows every single day. All right? So subscribe, like, share. Cito, before we wrap this up, do you have anything that you would like to say? I'm sorry.
I don't.
Everybody, please, all rise. Not for the Judgment Day. Please.